This sounds more like a bookkeeping issue than it is of a national security threat, which means it doesn't rise to the level of justifying raiding the former president's home.
You know, Trump's a memento guy. You've seen inside his office, there's a lot of clutter, memorabilia.
The days immediately after the FBI searched Donald Trump's retirement home for sensitive government documents, we heard a litany of excuses from his allies. These were just trinkets. They were memorabilia. It was a bookkeeping issue. Even Trump's lawyers argued in court the documents amounted to nothing more than, quote, overdue library book. Well, we now know that thousands of government documents were recovered, over 100 of them classified and 18 top secret. And today, there's new reporting from the Washington Post and confirmed by NBC News that the classified materials included highly sensitive intelligence regarding Iran and China. At least one of the documents describes Iran's missile program, and other documents describe highly sensitive intelligence work aimed at China. Now, we don't yet know what the one-term president was doing with these documents, which he had in his possession and which he didn't give over after being asked over and over and over. But there are foreign governments who would put a very, very, very high price on that kind of information. Glenn Gerstell is a former general counsel for the National Security Agency, and he joins me now. Okay. Glenn, given your background at the NSA and in dealing with sensitive and classified documents, particularly protecting sources and methods, I just want to get your reaction to the reporting today about the topic of at least two of these or some of these documents.
Chris, if the report is true, then it's deeply concerning on two levels. One, on national security, and second, for the possibility of criminal liability for Donald Trump or whoever took these documents. So first, on the national security side, these documents, according to the Post report, relate to Iran's missile program and to some efforts on the part of the United States to understand Chinese intelligence capabilities. So of all the topics that one might be concerned about the U.S. intelligence community, these two topics are certainly in the top tier. I mean, the entire world has been focused for years on whether or not Iran had the ability to make a nuclear bomb and whether it could successfully place a nuclear warhead on a missile that would be sufficiently long range to attack Israel or elsewhere. So this particular question is of vital interest to us. Similarly, on the Chinese, same point, we are vitally interested in understanding how their spy agencies are able to steal information from us, industrial secrets, our defense secrets, etc. So if this information is compromised, that is of tremendous concern. This is at the top tier. This puts this issue in an entirely different light. And on the second point, for potentially for criminal liability, whether it's for Donald Trump or whoever removed these classified records and kept them at Mar-a-Lago, this is of grave concern. We're not talking here about just some simple trinkets or mementos. Everyone understands if you fly on Air Force One, you're going to take a napkin and maybe that's your souvenir. These are not souvenirs. From the Department of Justice's point of view, this raises the stakes considerably. This means we are dealing with some of the nation's most sensitive secrets that help keep our military safe, and that would affect a prosecution decision, if there's evidence to support a prosecution, of course.
Yeah, that point I just want to stay with for a second, because I remember in the course of this reporting, one of the documents I think that first occasioned actually the National Archives to go back to the Trump folks and say, wait a second, is that letter that Kim Jong-un wrote to Donald Trump. They said, this should be here, and we don't see it, and we know it exists, right? And when you think about that may or may not be classified. I don't know if it is, but that could plausibly fall in a memento, like Trump's a weird guy. He seemed to have a weird connection with like the worst dictator on earth who he really liked. He wanted to hold on to it. Okay, I guess that's the motive. But you want to like something about the Iran missile program or Chinese intelligence capability. That's just in a completely different category, both in an import and even possible motive. Like, why do you need that doc?
Very hard to figure out why former President Trump would want to take this. If the answer was it's just careless, he just scooped up all sorts of stuff and didn't know what it is, well, that's hardly a very good look for someone who is the commander-in-chief in charge of keeping our men and women in uniform safe. And if he deliberately took it because it's a memento, that's just makes no sense at all. But it raises very grave concerns about how we have to deal with the ramifications of it. The Director of National Intelligence is now doing a damage assessment to say what's the possibility that these documents were fell into the wrong hands. And just one quick example. If you're a football coach in the Super Bowl and you discover that your playbook has been left out in a hotel lobby and you get it back the next day, are you going to run that same play that you know about that the next day at the game itself? Hardly not. And you're going to say, let's change. We can't take the risk. Same thing with national security, but of course the stakes are much higher. We might have to pull agents out of foreign countries. We might have to change codes. We might have to change battle plans. The cost could potentially be significant unless we can say for sure, and I doubt we will, that no one else was able to access these records.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, and we have tremendous amount of reporting already in the public record that's been entered into the public record about what a sieve Mar-a-Lago is, where there's all sorts of people coming and going at all times. We've got people who have talked about being at Mar-a-Lago and being shown mementos. Lord knows who got shown what at what time. Glenn Gerstell, thank you so much for sharing your expertise. Really appreciate it.